Hi, everybody. Today, I want to talk to you about working with crystals. I get asked a lot, how do I start working with crystals? What can I do with crystals? If I get a crystal, how do I use it? What can I do to get the benefits of using crystals? So today, I want to talk to you guys about that kind of whether or not you maybe have some crystals already, or you're interested in crystals, but you want to know how to start using them. We're going to talk about all of that, even how to pick crystals for you to work with, the whole gamut of things. So crystals basically, how do crystals work? They work because they are a stable energy. The energy within crystals is a very stable energy, like I said. And our energy bodies as humans, whether it's the energy within our physical bodies or our auras, our energy is very unstable. Anything can make our energy unstable, whether that is entering into a space that is unfamiliar to us and we kind of absorb the energies there, whether we're talking to another person and we kind of absorb their energies, even if we're just communicating online and not face to face, we can absorb people's energies that way as well. Our moods make our energy fluctuate. So yeah, pretty much everything. We're very unstable as humans. So the idea is to bring a crystal into your space to help you level out that energy, to help you balance that energy and bring it back to a more balanced state. My cat keeps trying to jump on me. Anyway, so because crystals are such a stable energy, they don't get flustered and their energy doesn't get unstable. They are just like a solid energy. And different crystals, because they're formed in different manners, different crystals have different energetic properties. So the idea is, if you are out of balance in a certain way, you bring in this stable energy, excuse me, of a particular crystal, and because the energy from the crystal is stable, it helps to stabilize your very unstable energy. It also helps to increase certain energies. So that's why you would bring in a crystal, say you're trying to work on increasing your third eye. So you're working on increasing your psychic energies, your intuition. You would want to bring in a crystal that kind of vibrates at the same frequency as intuition or as your third eye. So you would bring in an amethyst. Amethyst is really well known for basically vibrating at a quote unquote perfect frequency of the third eye. So that's one way that you can work with crystals and how they work with us. So science basically has not really been able to definitively prove or even disprove the effects of crystals. Science has proven, though, that crystals emit energy. Crystals emit a frequency. We use quartz crystals in watches and things. So it's not... science does agree that there are energetic properties of crystals, where they are kind of, not wanting to say, yeah, crystals work, is because scientists still don't completely understand our energy frequencies, our energy bodies. Science still doesn't quite understand how energy affects our entire being, our physical body, our mental states, our emotional states. Because these are things that aren't so easily able to be pinned down and replicated and stuff in a scientific environment. And so that's kind of why scientists are I don't know if they work or not. But here's my thing. First of all, science is proving and discovering things every single day. We really, as a species, know nothing about our universe. As it is, we already don't know everything there is to know about our physical bodies, and we have physical bodies. We can touch them. We know they're there. We see them, and we're still learning things every day about our physical bodies. So we don't know everything about our energetic bodies. We don't know everything about the energy in the universe and the earth and how different things communicate via energy. So I think it's a little ridiculous that just because science hasn't quote unquote proven the effectiveness of crystals, that doesn't mean that they are not effective. At one point, scientists weren't even aware of germs and microorganisms until they discovered it and they were able to prove it. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe even in our lifetime, scientists will actually be able to kind of more work with the energy of crystals and kind of be able to document that more. So even if you don't necessarily believe 100% that like, okay, the energy from this rock from the earth is really going to make a difference with my, you know, mental, mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical well-being. That's just a bunch of hogwash, whatever. If you believe that the crystal is going to do a certain something and then it does, yes, that's a placebo effect, but then technically it worked, didn't it? You know, if you bring in, we'll stick with the intuition and the amethyst. So if you bring in an amethyst and you start working with it and your intuition starts growing and becomes, you know, you hit the nail on the head every time in regards to your intuition, technically didn't that work? You believed that the amethyst would help increase your intuition, and so it did. So our minds are powerful things, and there's that quote, what we believe we achieve. And that is so very true. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with, you know, so what, maybe you need this physical visual reminder of what it is that you're trying to bring into your life. It's still helping to work. So even if you use a piece of fluorite is well known to help you be able to concentrate and to help you study. So it's a really good crystal for students and stuff. So even if you have that piece of fluorite on your desk and you don't really believe that the energy from the fluorite is helping you to tap into, you know, you're concentrating, just seeing that fluorite there, if looking over at that fluorite reminds you, oh, I should be concentrating right now. Technically that crystal worked. It served as a visual cue for you to like remind you of what you're supposed to be doing. So I really think that anybody can benefit from crystals, whether again, you believe that it is energetically making a difference or you're just using the crystal as sort of a visual reminder of what it is that you're working on. Crystals work. And I always say, if you are drawn at all to crystals or you're even curious in the slightest of working with crystals, pick one up. Go to your local, you know, metaphysical shop, order some online. Etsy is great. Healingcrystals.com is an excellent place as well to get crystals. And we'll kind of talk about that in a minute, shopping for crystals. But just go get one. You know, I mean, the worst thing it's going to do is not really do anything. And it's not really going to change your life or whatever. You know, best case scenario, though, it does. Best case scenario, it does benefit your life. Because here's the thing, crystals aren't going to make your life worse. So if you bring in a crystal into your life and into your practice, it's not going to make things worse. If anything, you know, it's just going to make things stay the same as they are. But who knows? It could actually, you know, better your life. It could better your mental state, your emotional state, your physical state. I should mention here again, you know, I'm not a doctor. Crystals, I'm not saying crystals are going to cure you of cancer or any of that stuff, or, you know, completely wipe away your depression. Obviously, if you're having any sort of mental or emotional sort of issues or conflicts, please seek some professional help. If you're having any sort of physical issues, you know, please seek a professional doctor. That isn't to say, though, that you can't use crystals along with professional help. Crystals, oils, and cards were three of the things that completely helped get me through my own therapy. I don't know if I would have been able to go as deep into my therapy and kind of healing as I did if it weren't for my crystals and oils and my cards, or come out of it quite as well as I did. They were a big part of my own mental and emotional and spiritual well-being. I also use them for some physical stuff as well. But anyway, yeah, I mean, they're just pretty. They may serve as a visual reminder. Bring them into your practice. Just go get one. So let's talk about, okay, well, how do you start working with crystals? You're like, yeah, crystals rock. I want to try working with crystals. What do? I suggest, if you can, go somewhere in person to see the crystals and actually physically hold the crystals. So that would be any local. You can Google, you know, whatever city you're in, metaphysical shop, and go to one, or, you know, your city crystal shop or something like that, and physically go if you can. If you cannot physically get somewhere, you can, of course, always look online. Like I said, you do want to make sure that you're getting like crystals from a reputable place. So like Etsy is really good, and check out the shop reviews from Etsy. Actually, my own Etsy shop has crystals in it occasionally whenever I stumble on some that I really like and want to share with others, or even when I have my own crystals that I'm just not connecting with anymore, I'll put those in the shop. Healing Moon Lumina on Etsy is my shop. But there's a ton of other shops that have awesome crystals. So you can go that route. But so I'll talk about both ways of shopping for crystals. So if you're shopping for crystals in person, excuse me, I'm going to take a sip of coffee. All right. So if you are shopping for crystals in person, my favorite thing to do is to go into the shop and just kind of look at the crystals that they have. Don't necessarily pay so much attention to what the name of the crystal is or what the properties of the crystal are, because a lot of time in crystal shops, they'll have, they usually have a table with a bunch of bins of tumbled crystals, which, just in case you aren't aware of what tumbled crystals are, they're basically just crystals that have been put into a tumbler, and so they're smooth. They're usually kind of rounded, smooth edges. They usually have a big bin or a table with bins of those. And then they'll have like little cards that tell you what the crystal is and the properties of that crystal. I suggest just going in and seeing what you're drawn to. Not even necessarily like, oh, I like pink, so here's a pink crystal. Maybe even go up to the table and close your eyes and kind of put your hand over the bins and see if you notice like your hand tingling when it's over a certain crystal, or just what you're feeling drawn to. And then pick up that crystal and see how you feel holding that crystal. And then you can look at what the description of the crystal is. And more often than not, it's something that you're working on or something that you're kind of having an issue with. And it's really kind of surprising. I mean, I've been working with crystals for a while, and there's still some crystals that I'm a little unsure of what their properties are. And so even still, when I go to a crystal shop, that's what I like to do, is kind of just see what I'm being drawn to and what feels right. And I'm always surprised. I shouldn't be at this point, but I'm always surprised at the properties of the crystal. I'm like, oh my God, that's totally what I'm going through right now. Or I just said I want to work on this or whatever. I mean, it's pretty amazing. So that's what you can do. And then also, so every crystal, so like here's a Tibetan quartz. Tibetan quartz has its own properties. But then each crystal feels a little different. So while all Tibetan quartz kind of has the same general properties attached to it, like amplifying and very grounding, and it also helps filter energies, each crystal feels different. So that's why if you can, you want to be able to go and hold the crystals. So if you are picking a crystal out in one of the tumbled bins, you know, pick up the crystal, hold on to it, see how it feels, pick up a different one and hold on to it and see how it feels. Because each one will feel a little different to you. And it sounds crazy. When people talk about crystals, it really sounds like goofy. But crystals, they really do kind of call out to you, or one feels more comfortable to you than another. So like even today, I have 2 pieces of Tibetan quartz here. I love Tibetan quartz. But I have 2 pieces of Tibetan quartz here. And today I picked up both of them, and one of them just felt more right to me than the other. So that's the one that I'm working with today. So I just really suggest, holding the crystals, feeling them, seeing what comes up for you, and choosing your crystal that way. So if you are in or online, maybe you don't have a shop anywhere near you, and so you have to shop online. You can either kind of the same way. So maybe you're going on to Etsy, go to Etsy and just type in crystals and just kind of scroll and see which crystal images are standing out to you. And then you can click on it and be like, oh, okay, that crystal is for this. And then purchase that crystal. That's kind of some people are really like, never purchase crystals online. And then other people are, it's okay. I'm with I think it's okay. Energy doesn't know time and space. So I fully 100% believe that you can see an image of a crystal and feel its energy. There's been so many times like scrolling through Instagram and I see somebody's photo of a beautiful crystal and it's like, oh my gosh, like you can like feel like a little jolt of the energy from the crystal just from seeing the image. So I 100% think that you can connect to a crystal just by seeing it online. But again, there is that actual physical element of holding the crystal. So while I do personally, I even shop for crystals online sometimes. I prefer to do it in person, but some of my favorite crystals I have found online. So I think it's okay. Just make sure you're, feeling within yourself and like, oh, okay. Like you may get some butterflies in your stomach when you're looking at a picture of a crystal or something, or maybe shivers down your spine, or, whatever it is. And maybe you just feel really excited seeing this crystal. Those are good cues that like, yes, this crystal is for you. You two are meant to work together. So don't be afraid to purchase crystals online. Another way that you can work with crystals or choose crystals to work with is to look up what it is that you're working on. So maybe you are working on social anxiety. You could type in, which I actually have a blog post on my website, ShariceWilliams.com. It's a blog post on crystals for social anxiety because I have social anxiety and I have found crystals that work amazing together. Again, I'm not curing your social anxiety, but to help support you with your social anxiety. So yeah, you could do that. So like, oh my gosh, I want to work on my social anxiety. So you can just Google crystals for social anxiety and then see which crystals come up. And then, Tibetan quartz is good, labradorite, black tourmaline. And so then you can go to your local crystal shop and, specifically seek out those crystals, or look on Etsy and specifically seek out those crystals. Or even just if you can, go to your local crystal shop and ask them. They're usually pretty knowledgeable, and say, hey, I'm kind of having this issue or this going on. What crystals would be good for that? And let them kind of help you. So once you have your crystal, what do you do? There's so many different ways to work with crystals. It's, as with everything I say, I feel like I'm on a broken record because I say this all the time. Do what feels right to you. Because, energy healing, spirituality, all these things, yes, there are some like guidelines and some generally accepted like facts or, the norm when it comes to like energy healing or spirituality. At the end of the day, things necessarily aren't written in stone, and what works for one person may not work for another. So I always say, when it comes to your energy healing and it comes to your spirituality, you know what is best. You and your spiritual team know what is best. So trust that. So if you get a crystal, don't necessarily worry so much about like, well, what do I do with it? First, get your crystal in your hand and just like sit with it for a moment. Close your eyes, maybe take some breaths holding the crystal, and just see what comes up to you. Do what feels natural to you. I can give you, I'm going to give you some tips on how to work with crystals, but ultimately, again, do what feels right to you. If I don't know, taking your crystal swimming is good to you, then take your crystal swimming, like whatever. That being said, though, make sure your crystal can go in water, because not all crystals should get wet because they can kind of start to deteriorate. Anyway, but you know what I mean? Just do what feels good to you with working with your crystal. If holding your crystal and talking to it feels good to you, then do that. So, but here's some of like the common ways that people use crystals. Number one, like I said, literally just holding your crystal and sitting with it and just feeling the energy. You could do it with a meditation. That's a really common way, is to hold crystals while you're meditating, because there's different crystals for different things. So maybe you're doing a meditation specifically to ground your energy. You're doing kind of like a guided meditation to ground your energy. You may want to use a more grounding crystal for that. So you may want to use some smoky quartz or some black tourmaline or even some Tibetan quartz. Or maybe you're doing a meditation to open up your heart chakra. You could bring in some crystals that are good for that, like malachite or rose quartz. Or maybe you're just wanting to connect to the energy of the crystal. So you got your new crystal and you want to connect to its energy. Just hold it and close your eyes and just do some deep breathing. Do some breathing and just sit there and just see what comes up, and try not to judge what comes up for you. Because a lot of the time when we're doing like meditating or any sort of spiritual work, we will like receive a message or some insight or a feeling. And then it's like, as soon as we're like connecting to that, it's almost like our conscious mind, our ego is like, nah, that's weird. That can't be right. So try not to judge yourself. If those thoughts come up, just kind of like acknowledge it and kind of push it aside. But just be aware of when you're holding your crystal and you're doing your breathing, what comes up for you? Are you seeing any certain colors? Are you hearing any certain sounds? Do you feel any energy different in your body? Do you feel any tightness in certain parts of your body? Do you feel any warmth or tingles in certain parts of your body? And these are just different ways that the crystal may be communicating with you or working with you to balance your energy frequencies. So that's one way to work with the crystals. Another way is for whatever it is. So if you're working with, that didn't make any sense, but if you're working with crystals for like sleep, Bring the crystals into your bedroom with you, put them under your pillow, set them next to your bed. You could even hold the crystals before you go to sleep and do some breathing to just kind of center yourself, and then put the crystal next to your bed and go to sleep. Again, I mentioned studying. So if you're trying to study, put the crystals on your desk, put the crystals in your workspace with you. Crystals, we don't necessarily need to be holding them in order to get their energetic properties, because, everything has an energy field around it. So even just having the crystal near you is going to benefit you. That being said, though, it does, again, there is something to be said about physically holding a crystal and having it touch your body. There is something, it's like extra energy, it's like when you're feeling like a hot fire, you're sitting in, at a bonfire, and you're like 5 feet away from it, you'll feel the warmth and the energy of that fire. But the closer you get to the fire, the more intense the heat and the energy from that fire is. It's the same with crystals. You can feel the energy just with it sitting, a couple feet away from you. You can feel that energy, but then the closer it is to you, the more amplified that energy is. Another way to work with crystals is to just have them in your space. Selenite is a really good one to have around your home. Have like a piece of selenite in every room, because selenite is a very cleansing crystal, and it's also a very high vibrational crystal. So having a piece of selenite in each of your rooms, it kind of just emits that cleansing and calming and good vibration energy into each of the rooms of your house. So that is another way to work with crystals. Working with the chakra system. So the 7 main chakras, getting a crystal that corresponds to the chakra that you want to work with. And you can lay down. So if you're going to work with your third eye, lay down on your back and get a crystal and put it on your forehead, just right on your third eye. And you can either just lay there and do some breathing, or you can do visualizations of, your third eye chakra opening up and spinning and glowing brightly. You could do a guided meditation with it. But those are really good ways to balance your chakras. Excellent ways. Crystals and essential oils together especially are amazing for your chakra system. I'm trying to think of other ways to use them. So yeah, putting them on you, physically on you. Oh, if you're a woman listening to this, which most likely you are, put the crystal in your bra. Bras are amazing holders for your crystals, especially if you're wanting to have a crystal for being out and about. So if you are using like Tibetan quartz for social anxiety, putting it in your bra, it's excellent. And then you don't have to worry about people being like, oh, what is that? Why do you have a crystal? I mean, unless you want to talk to people about it, but put it in your bra and there you go. It's literally with you. It's physically touching you. Its energy is helping you. And you don't have to worry about dropping it or losing it or anything like that. It's in your bra and you're good to go. I pretty much always have a crystal in my bra. So that's another way to use it. You can also use crystals with your essential oils. If you do use essential oils, you can put, if you make a roller blend of essential oils, you can put some little crystal chips in there. I have, again, you can get these on healingcrystals.com or even on Etsy. And they're just small little chips of tumbled crystals, and you can put some of those into your bottle with your oil, and it just kind of helps. It's like a synergy. The energy of the oil and the energy of the crystal work together. The energy of the crystal helps to amplify the energy of the oils. So crystals and oils, they are best friends and they pair wonderfully together. So you would basically, so maybe you're making an oil for sleep, so you're using like maybe some lavender and cedar wood. You could put some little amethyst chips into your blend, and it just kind of helps to amplify all of that. That being said, not all crystals are safe to be rubbing onto your skin or to putting into oils or water or anything like that. So do a just quick Google search of toxic crystals. And if the crystal's on that list, you don't want to put it into your oils. You don't want to put it into the bathtub with you. You don't want to put it into your glass of water. So just make sure if you're doing that, like oils, bath, or drinking, make sure that it's a non-toxic crystal. Basically, any of the quartz crystals are good for, like putting on your body. So let's talk about that. You can use crystals with bathing. So just put the crystals literally in the bathtub with you. Or if it is maybe a toxic crystal like malachite, you don't want to put that into the water and bathe with it. You could just set the malachite next to you on the side of the bathtub. But yeah, you can put like amethyst and rose quartz and other crystals into the bathtub with you and take a bath that way. We know water is an energy amplifier. So by putting the crystals into the water, it kind of helps to amplify the energy and helps you to absorb that energy even more. So bathing with crystals, excellent, excellent, excellent. Again, just make sure it's not toxic and make sure that the crystal can go into water. Like selenite, you wouldn't want to put selenite into the water because selenite could start to deteriorate in the water. So just be aware of that. I mentioned drinking with your crystals. So you can it's called a gym elixir, and basically put the crystal into your glass of water and let the crystal sit in there for 10, 15 minutes. You could even set it in the sunlight or the moonlight if you want, and then remove the crystal and drink your water. It's kind of the same idea of taking a bath with your crystal. The water absorbs the energy of the crystal, and then you drink it, and it's literally like putting the energy of the crystal internally into your system to help you from the inside out. So that is a really powerful, wonderful way to utilize the energy of crystals. And again, please Google toxic crystals because you never want to drink toxic crystals. And obviously, be careful. If you have crystals in your water, either remove them before you drink them or be aware that there's crystals in your glass of water before you drink it. We don't want you choking on crystals. I've actually seen this online. I would avoid eating crystals. I've actually seen people ask that question or talk about that. Please don't swallow your crystals or eat your crystals. That's just not safe. I wouldn't even put them in your mouth either. You know, you might choke on it or something. Let's not eat our crystals. So similar to the bath, if you have a crystal that you want to work with that is not safe to put into your water, you can just set it next to your glass. So again, we'll use malachite. Malachite, you don't want to drink the water from malachite. So you could just set the malachite crystal next to your glass of water. And because it's so close to it, the water's still going to absorb the energy of the crystal. So let's see, those are some handful of ways to use crystals. Oh, affirmations. That's another wonderful way. I love using crystals, again, with oils for my affirmations. Affirmations are excellent and they work fabulous all on their own because remember, our mind is our most powerful tool, but bringing in things like crystals and oils just helps to amplify that energy. So, you know, if you're using, we'll go back to the amethyst intuition. So maybe you're doing affirmations to grow your intuition and to learn to trust your intuition. So you could get an amethyst and maybe some lavender essential oil for your third eye and pair all that together and say your affirmation, you know, I trust my intuition completely. My intuition is growing daily. Something like that. And basically you would just hold the crystal while you're saying that affirmation. And then next time you see the crystal, it'll remind you of your affirmation. Plus the energy of the crystal is amplifying your affirmation and bringing that energy in. So it all works together. And I guess those are the only questions I have. Oh, if you want to use crystals for physical stuff, kind of like with the chakras, how you would just place the crystal directly on the correlating chakra, you would kind of do the same thing. So maybe you're working on some pelvic health issues. You could bring some carnelian in and just lay down with the carnelian on your pelvis and just do some breathing, or you can even just like watch TV or whatever with the crystal on your pelvis and it will help. If you're having a headache, amethyst and selenite are really good for helping headaches. So again, you could just lay down and put the crystals near your head or even on your head and that will help. And I say even just laying there for like 10 minutes or so can be helpful. I've found relief from headaches with just laying with my crystals for like 10 minutes. So those are some ways. And I think that's good. So let me know if you guys have any questions or you want more clarification on working with crystals. But I think everybody should at least try it because they are amazing and I love crystals. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe to if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube. If you're watching or listening to this on the podcast, don't forget to subscribe and please leave a review. I would appreciate it. And I'm always up for some love donations. So if you love this YouTube channel or you love my podcast, you can head on to paypal.me/Charisse Healing Moon and send me a love donation if you want. And go ahead and put in the notes section that, you know, I love the podcast or I love the YouTube channel or whatever. Not required. But anyway, I will talk to all of you lovelies later. Peace and love, everybody. Bye.